If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good. And Mike, today our first guest is Rich Littlehale, who is the fearless co-founder of YouRenew. And Rich is over in Connecticut, so he's calling all across the country. And he's just finishing up at Yale University. So he's not only an entrepreneur and leading the green revolution with his great website, YouRenew.com, but he's also a student finishing up at one of the greatest universities in America. Welcome to Green is Good, Rich, and we're so thankful and humbled to have you on today.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm very excited to talk.
Hey, now wait a second. How do you get to go to Yale University and still have time to come up with this wonderful website, great website, YouRenew.com?
I mean, one of the things that has been helpful is just from a young age, I've always had a strong work ethic, sort of pushed through by my parents. And I think for me, this is something, the whole area of sustainability and in particular e-waste is something that I'm passionate about. So as you guys know, I mean, when you're passionate about something, it's easy to work a few extra hours every night on something you care about.
Were your parents in the Green Revolution? Did you read a lot? Did you watch something on television? What made you want to even get in this segment of society instead of going to become an investment banker or anything else you could become or the next president out of Yale University, by the way?
Well, I think, part of it was just kind of right place, right time, and a little bit of us, my co-founder and I, stumbling upon this. I had always wanted to do something in the green space, for no reason besides, I had grown up and, often spent a lot of my summer times in nature camps and stuff like that. Actually, a camp up in Maine called Chewonki, which really instilled in me a passion for the environment and taking care of, sort of that part of nature. And for me, I had, I don't think there's a better business than a business that has a triple bottom line that works on people, planet, and profit. And for me, I was really looking for something in that area to drive it towards. And we stumbled upon this and thought it would be doable, and here we are.
So you're the next Zuckerberg or Gates, in your dorm room, cooking up this new business concept. And so what does YouRenew.com do? And what, how's the response been? And explain, what our listeners can expect if they go right now while they're listening to the show to YouRenew.com.
Well, so the site is very easy. Essentially, what we tried to think of was, there's a lot of ways that you can make an impact on responsibly reusing and recycling e-waste. And for us, YouRenew.com, we wanted to really leverage technology to create a simple, transparent, and convenient process with incentive, monetary incentive, to trade in or recycle your old electronics. So the way the website works is it's very simple. First, you just want to search for your device, and we have a catalog of thousands of devices in 9 different categories. And once you find your device, we have a picture that makes it really easy to find that device. You answer a few questions about that device, and based on the answers to your questions, we're able to come up with a price that we're willing to sort of either pay for that device, or in some cases we can't pay for it, but we're happy to send it to our electronics recycling partner. And so, after that, it's very simple. You fill out quick information, name, address, email. We give you a free shipping label. You grab a box, throw your device in, put the shipping label on, tape it up, send it in. You'll get, a check a few days later and a report just telling you that we've received your device and it's being taken care of responsibly. So it's gotten a great response so far. It hasn't even been up for a year, and it's been pretty exciting. Tens of thousands of people have used it, so we've been excited about it and look forward to the future.
So right now it's set up mostly for cell phones, or laptops, or what kind of devices, so our listeners can get motivated to get to that site and use it?
So we have 9 different categories of devices currently. So those categories are cell phones, MP3 players, so like iPods and stuff, digital cameras, calculators, laptops, gaming devices, external hard drives, video games, and Blu-ray DVDs.
Beautiful.
So those are the categories that we're currently focusing on.
Great, and I'm sure that you'll expand as time goes on, as you evolve into Kindles and all of the new inventions that are coming out every day and every week and every month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, a full gamut of options for people is necessary, because it's amazing how quickly, technology evolves and new things come out. Looking forward to seeing the Apple tablet when it comes out.
So now it's easy for people to use. They can do it from their home, their office, anywhere. They just have to log in, go to YouRenew.com, and you're saying the response has been good. Now you're saying you saw a void in the marketplace. People have extra e-waste, electronic waste laying around in their desk drawers or their homes, or is that what you filled a void in a marketplace?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, e-waste is the fastest growing stream of trash in the United States, and so there needs to be a lot of different solutions that help fix that problem and support both people and larger organizations in a way to responsibly reuse or recycle their old electronics. So the void that we saw was that a lot of these devices, the most important thing that you can do with, devices at its end of life, it's taken care of responsibly. But when devices are still in good condition, which often most of them are because we're upgrading so quick. I mean, the new Motorola Droid comes out or the new iPhone comes out, and, we have to go get it, but the old BlackBerry still works. We wanted to sort of facilitate a process where, using technology, we could help people quickly and easily get cash for their old stuff. Give them that incentive to go and do the right thing with their old electronics, and then take those devices and connect them with people across the country who were willing to use those devices, either because they can't afford brand new devices or because, maybe their model just broke. And it's connecting those two different marketplaces, which is really interesting and really fun and is important for, keeping devices out of the waste stream.
This is really cool because I went onto your site while John is asking you some questions. And, Rich, I was going to ask, it does seem like there's a confluence of a couple of things. You can't watch television or listen to radio these days and not hear about cash for gold, cash for gold. So people they're already familiar with that concept. And you make a great point about almost as soon as new technology comes out, you're talking about the Droid. Well, yeah, and 6 months ago you got this cool new BlackBerry, which is still good. So what do? I think about how many drawers I look around in people's houses. Not that I snoop, but, you go someplace and somebody reaches into a drawer in the kitchen and there's 2 or 3 little old pocket calculators and stuff that, hey, you don't want to throw that stuff away. What do you do with it? So this is perfect.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. It's really exciting, and that was one of the things my co-founder and I realized as 21 and 22-year-old college students that we have an old graphing calculator, an old cell phone, and we look around our dorm rooms and there's thousands of dollars of value that could be reused responsibly somewhere else, and it could put a lot of cash in our pocket, and just connecting the dots there and making sure that it's being handled the right way is an exciting process.
So what is, we have a lot of people who listen to the show who are entrepreneurs who want to be you. They're students, they're young students, they're older folks who are looking to do a reset on their career. So what have been some of the good and bad experiences that you've had while you've launched and starting to scale your company?
Well, I think, I guess I can start with some of the bad experiences or some of the more of the learning experiences. Let's see. I mean, I think, when we originally started the business, one story I love to tell is actually when we started the business, we thought that a good way to launch into the market was to partner with charitable organizations and help them do fundraising drives, which it still is, and it is a great means and something that we still do. One of the mistakes I made, however, early on was realizing really how, it was a silly mistake as a first-time entrepreneur, just how detailed, you really want to be with your process and your pitch. So the mistake I made was I went into a pitch and just didn't have some of the important questions that they had answered. And that was really just due to lack of experience. It wasn't because we were doing something bad with anything. It was just really because we didn't know what we were talking about. And so I think as a young entrepreneur, it's really important to really make sure that when you're going in and you're speaking with people and you're trying to create partnerships, that you sort of run the full gamut of all the checkpoints of what's important, and you sort of have checked all your boxes, and you're really prepared to speak about what you're doing. And I think besides that, there have been some very long hours. One funny story is I was up till 5 a.m. on a Saturday night 2 days before the site launched, because we had promised to get it out by March 2nd, I believe it was. So it was a little bit of a race to the finish. But I think the good things, and those are the most important things. There are so many. I think it's obviously the relationships that I've been able to make both inside and outside the company, and that's been the most important thing, because what I've realized, especially as a young entrepreneur, is that you can't do it all on your own, and you really need to find mentors and advisors and partners who are willing to help support your solution and trying to give you the right way to go about things. And that's been one of the really powerful things. And I think some of the other things have just been learning a lot more about business. Learning how to read financial statements, and learning how to organize inventory, and design and create websites. So I would recommend that anyone at any age goes and tries to do it, because you'll definitely learn a lot no matter what.
You're just graduating from Yale undergraduate studies in a couple of months, and you're really getting a real-life MBA, it sounds like.
Yes, that is unquestionably true. I think in particular because when I started this, I really was, I actually took off school before my co-founder, so I was really on my own. And I think, sitting there sort of twiddling your thumbs in a 100-square-foot office in the beginning is an interesting experience and an interesting path into the business world. And from there to where I am now, I definitely learned quite a bit.
What's the goals now? You're going to be graduating this April or May.
Yep.
And what's your goals? Now that you're going to, one job of graduating is done, now you're going to go back to your full-time job of scaling your company and growing your company. What's your goals as a young man, as a young entrepreneur with YouRenew.com? I
think in particular, what I've really been always interested in is I've been most interested in creating a piece of the puzzle that is part of the larger movement. And it's possible that our piece, and it will and it has already, will evolve into other services and more devices and other types of relationships. For instance, our fastest growing part of our business is actually working with corporations and municipalities and helping them find responsible outlets for their old devices. That's through corporaterenew.com. But I think for me, this is a fascinating time in this market, and I just want to be a part of, the end solution, which is, creating a system where everybody in America, where recycling rates, for instance, for cell phones, which are currently around 10%, are more like 90%.
Right. Well, with 4 billion cell phones out there right now in the world, that's an amazing statistic you got. So just so our listeners hear that again, you're saying so far only about 10% of all cell phones are being recycled in a responsible way right now.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. It's a truly incredible statistic. There are hundreds of millions that turned over every year.
Right.
And for us, it's a very special time for this industry. Eventually, I think that people are going to be, mining out of these old devices versus mining out of the ground.
Right.
And that will be a great thing, because it will mean that we'll be constantly reusing all the metals and the plastics and the glass and all these devices, or the actual devices, which is what we specialize in.
Which is reuse, which is a great form of recycling. But you're just referring to urban mining has a huge future ahead of it also, because everything in your cell phone can be reused and recycled, all the metals, the plastic, and the glass.
Exactly. So I think for us, my end goal is to our goal is to continue to focus on building value for our customers, and to really try to use technology as a leverage point to make this process easier.
How many Yale students are co-founders with you or co-partners with you?
One co-founder.
One co-founder from Yale?
Yep, exactly.
And how many of your colleagues at Yale are jealous of that you guys are already have a job when you graduate?
Well, luckily this year the economy is a bit better, so I think some of the people graduating this year, from what I understand, are doing a bit better.
Great. Than
last year. But still, I think people here are very supportive. We've been very lucky and fortunate to have a lot of supportive people in the Connecticut area and Yale. And
well, you're the Yale answer to Zuckerberg and Gates. That's what I've been told.
Well, hopefully, because then most importantly, and this is why it's exciting, the company will have a huge impact, environmentally and profitably.
It's a clean site. Mike's on it now while we're talking with you. It's a clean and wonderful site. I've been on it many times and used it already. Who's your competition out there? Do you have 10 competitors, 5 competitors? Have you created a whole new industry? What's it look like?
Well, the industry it's very interesting because it's rapidly evolving. I mean, there are a lot of people who specialize in asset management and reuse, and then that ranges from people in, for instance, networking equipment. I know you guys have had Cisco.com, which is a great solution.
Yep.
To companies that are more like ours, focused on some of the handheld electronics we're focused on. For instance, Gazelle, FlipSwap, which is just focused on cell phones.
Right.
And there are a few companies, but we're really looking to I think for us, which is exciting, we're trying to differentiate ourselves a bit and finding different types of points of leverage and partnerships that can really help scale our solution and utilize our solution.
How big can you get? Like literally when you go to bed at night, Rich, and sometimes I know it's late at night as an entrepreneur. When you think 5 years down the line, how big can your company be? How many employees? What kind of sales number dances around in your head? What's going on?
I think it's incredible, but I think that this is, whether we on our own, are this or we're part of another company. I think for me. I want to be over the billion mark because it is that big of an opportunity. It is that big of a need, most importantly, and the devices exist. Anyone can go run the math on this, and it's not like people aren't working on it already. There are lots of people who are already pursuing this option, but I think if given the correct execution and going down the right path, there will be winners, and I think that we want to be a part of the winning team, and I think that number is well over $1 billion. So.
And what do you do day to day? Like, what are you the coder? Are you the visionary? Are you the architect? What are you doing every day to push the company forward? What's your genius, and what's your partner Bob Casey's specialty?
I think so. When we originally started, and this is pretty much how it stayed. I was the CEO and Bob was the COO. So I would say that in somewhat, I'm the strategist, visionary, and sort of pitch man, and going out there and trying to make relationships and sort of sell the product, and also help people really understand it and communicate it clearly, and also really have a focus on building the technology. And I don't code myself, but really working with our technology team to build and continually iterate for the best product. And Bob is the master of the details, really, and our COO, and really has a knack and an amazing ability to take and to put operations and streamline them and really make them the best, the greenest, and the most profitable. So we started that way, and it stayed that way ever since. I'm no longer CEO. I've actually stepped down recently. We hired a more experienced and seasoned company veteran, but for me, I've pretty much stayed in that visionary role and trying to create the partnerships that's going to leverage this to the scale that we want.
Well, we've got about a couple minutes left, and I want you to give a couple of pearls of wisdom on some questions that we have to our listeners out there. What does your green DNA look like, both in your personal life and your business life, and what do you have to say to our listeners that want to green their life more, besides going to your great website, YouRenew.com, which will definitely be a help to all of our listeners? What else can you say in terms of green DNA, and to our entrepreneurs out there, what's one last pearl of wisdom that you can leave them with?
Well, I think in my personal life, I think that there's a lot of things. I mean, I think in particular, one of the things that I try to do is I always try to educate myself. Besides the things that I think anyone and everyone should do, and any company is, setting up, making sure everybody's recycling everything responsibly, from paper to plastic, etc. And also really trying to focus on, buying the right types of lights and, streamlining operations in the most energy efficient ways.
Right.
But I think one of the things that I've really loved doing and has been helpful is trying to really educate myself as much as possible on a whole myriad of different issues in the green space, whether it be geothermal energy, to e-waste, to solar energy, to recycling plastics, to buying organic foods and local foods, and something that I actually do a lot. And I think that as a result of that, having constantly reading about those kind of things and educating yourself, number one, you're just going to naturally draw yourself towards that and do those kind of practices. But two, it helps in connecting other people who are interested in the same space. For instance, I know there are a lot of people who come up to me now and say, I have this green idea. How do I get started? And sometimes it's outside of the box of what I've worked on, but because I've read things on it, I can at least say, well, you should probably try to connect with this person, or you should try to connect with this organization.
So you're being seen as a green leader now, and you're not only talking a great talk, but you're walking a great green walk.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
And that's part of it. And, listen, Mike and I are so thankful that you came on today, Rich, but, we're going to have you back on, and you're going to give us an update not only as a graduate of the great Yale University, but as the co-founder and entrepreneur behind YouRenew.com. We're going to have you back on, and all of your thoughts have been great, and we want to just urge our listeners to recycle all their electronics out there and go to YouRenew.com and get your cell phone and your PDAs recycled and all the other great things that recycle. And Rich Littlehale, our hats off to you, and we just want to tell you, you are living proof that green is good.